you did. So, truly, we're kind of looking tonight for permission to try and purchase this and facilitate from New York. As well as it getting it outfitted and any extra equipment that we'll need to get it in service. As well as the approval to work on the disposal of our previous ladder truck. With that, I do believe it could bring in more than $5,000. I think probably our best option to start would be a community bid or some sort of municipal bid, as is. So, but that's kind of what I've got. Any questions for me?
And, you know, as Chad said, Chief Douglas, you know, we had talked about looking at an alternative, knowing we certainly need a ladder truck one way or the other. While this one, I think, is slightly higher, the certainly getting a newer ladder truck is beneficial. Just curious, Chad or Chief, if you've really thought about, you know, what kind of life longevity would we expect with this? Knowing that we're getting something.
At a minimum, I'm thinking at least 5 years.
Okay.
It would give us time to continue looking at, you know, different funding sources, whether it be federal or state level. But I would feel comfortable getting at least 5 years out of this truck. So.
Chad, you want to start?
Yeah, good question, Mayor. I don't know if the mic's working. I think maybe Commissioner Heiser may have, you know, found a way to disconnect it somehow. I cannot estimate the value of having a bucket related to this piece of apparatus. You know, we do have the castle, other higher rescue buildings that we could be called to, noting the last time that we were in need of one, that we had to call for mutual aid, I believe it was 23 minutes.
Yeah, 23 minutes to do it.
So that's an awful long time, and having a bucket related to you know, high angle rescue is a huge advantage, because having someone climb down that ladder the 75 feet up in the air is a harrowing opportunity. So certainly we do have the monies already in the motor vehicle pool. As the RCA indicates, there's 272,500 available on reserve, planned for the eventual purchase of this. I think this would allow us to hopefully package up some grants for this and develop a better financial model for what would be the eventual replacement, which could be upwards of you know, $2 million.
Commissioner Gersky.
Thank you. I got two questions, Chief.
Yes.
One, I was looking through the pictures last night. Will it fit?
Yes. So lengthwise, we've got plenty of space. Height-wise, in talking with the department last week, you know, they were telling us it was built on their station. They have shorter doors than us. So overall height, I think it's at 9'10".
Okay.
So,
And the second question is what year's our current truck?
the current 350 is a 1984 that was refurbished in 1995 and 96 when the city bought it.
And so would it be unreasonable to think, I mean, the reality is $2 million for the city to swing is likely not achievable.
Right.
Without some, basically 100% contribution from
Right.
somebody else. I mean, I'm assuming it would be achievable to think that we could get a longer time frame. I mean, we can't predict the future, but
Right.
we did get quite a long run out of the last one. Would it be unreasonable to think we could get 20 years out of this, or? I mean,
Right.
What are the hours? I mean, currently?
So miles wise, it was, the current 350 is at 48,000 miles and about 4,400 hours.
Okay.
So 11,000 more hours at least.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the potential's there as long as we keep up on preventative maintenance and all of that. So, but it at a minimum, I could see getting 5 years out of this. Fair enough.
Do you happen to know what engine's in this?
This has, sorry, the power transfer, I don't remember offhand, it's a Detroit diesel, and you remember that now, but thank you. Cause there was a question on that when we did the virtual inspection last week.
Thank you, appreciate it. That's all I got there.
Mayor. Just briefly add to Commissioner Hershey's question about kind of the CIP approach to this, and I think that's what our plan is to, hopefully bring this apparatus on, take a look at it and develop, an approach of, okay, we're gonna try to save X amount of money to buy this and or, plan for bonding. We have our other opportunities perhaps with our rural fire partners. There's, throw that into the mix. So lots of opportunities, and this will certainly allow that to roll out in the time period that we know we'll have this for at least 5 years, maybe 10, maybe 15, maybe even 20.
So, a few questions.
Yes,
So you think the extra 20 feet plus the bucket is worth the 140,000?
yes. Or just the rescue factor alone. To try and bring anybody down a ladder, obviously when their house is on fire and they're trying to escape is hard enough. But if we can have a bucket to put at that window to make the rescue, it's gonna make it safer for both our firefighters and the victim.
How much is it gonna cost you to outfit this rig?
Between graphics wise. Figuring probably anywhere 5,000 to 7,000 for decals and all of that. Equipment wise. We wanna see what they're willing to send with it. It's already got, there's ladders and stuff in it, but there's still gonna be things that we need to get, on our side. I would say equipment wise, we're looking anywhere. Roughly $30,000.
How are we gonna get it?
So the company that I found it through, they offer services to have it, brought here. Roughly $3,400 to have it. Boy brought from New York to Michigan.
How many hours do we put on a truck a year?
Kind of depends. Our engine 3.4, which is our newest apparatus, has roughly. You think I remember it, I was in it this morning. I wanna say it's got about 200 hours on it. With this being newer, we're going to reevaluate our response order and what apparatus respond when. So this would see more use as being newer, but I could see we would put potentially anywhere from 100 to 150 hours on it a year.
With this rig, how much training is needed for individuals to drive it compared to the other ones?
About the same amount. They're still gonna need 10 hours of wheel time behind it. That's what the driver training program we use, and that I'm an instructor for, the recommendation is 10 hours.
Comments, thoughts? Good. Yeah, I appreciate the background here, Chief Douglas. I think. I hope you're being conservative when you're thinking 5 years. I think you are. I mean, I think that. We've seen these last a bit longer than that. I know when we looked at the other one, we really didn't have any certainty at all. It was to get us through, so. Yeah, I think anything we could do to make sure we've got a shelf life on this for at least 10 years would be helpful. Just to give us the time to start getting ready for the finances of another one.
Mm-hmm.
If there's no more questions,
Just, I'll have a procedure one.
yeah, go ahead.
Do we have to amend or remove the motion or do something that we authorize the city manager to negotiate with Delta Township for that one that we approved at the last meeting? That's just a procedure. I mean,
You mean cancel that, like?
do we need to cancel that and not recognize? I mean, we authorized him to negotiate and that could result in failed negotiations. We did not direct him that he had to purchase it, right? We were just looking at Mindy to see if there's any.
Andy.
Yeah. Okay. If there's nothing else, there, in the plan here in CIP, there is a recommendation. The commission direct, city manager to negotiate the purchase of the 2004 Pierce 95-foot mid-mount ladder truck from the Chester Fire Department, Protection District for a price not to exceed $240,000. To include acquisition of the ladder truck and any modifications and equipment needed to finish outfitting the truck. That would be the first action.
I have a question after this,
So
so.
it's not a motion, but if there is, that, I can't make motions, so.
I'm happy to make the motion, I will have a question.
Okay. It's been moved.
I'll support it for discussion.
All right, it's been moved by Gursky, supported by Heiser. Questions on the motion, Commissioner Gursky?
The question is, what are they asking for the truck as far as the cost?
210,000.
210, okay. That's all I had, I'm good.
Okay, good. Commissioner Heiser, questions?
I mean, I'd rather just see the purchase of the truck price in here and then equipment come back to us, but the motion's on the floor, so.
I'm good with the way it is, but if you want to amend it, so
I'm
you.
not gonna amend it.
Yeah, motion.
No further questions, most support. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Then, and I'm sure between Chief Douglas, as well, Chad, just to keep us posted on negotiations as well as equipment, additional equipment needed there.
Absolutely.
The second piece then is we do have the previous, ladder 350 truck. To direct the city manager to facilitate the disposal of the previous 350 ladder. As the anticipated value of the truck is greater than $5,000, so. Chad, talk a little bit about or Chief Douglas, what the procedure would be for disposal. I think you mentioned we just posed that out for municipal governments, see if anyone was interested. It'd likely be our first step.
Yeah, I think obviously we're trying to maximize the value in that. There still is some value. It just needs an engine.
Just
And it is old, so. You know, agency that may elect to purchase that. So we just want to maximize that. Certainly work with the chief. And looking to advertise that is a broad spectrum as we can.
other questions, disposal.
Just one question related to that. Typically, when we dispose of these items, where do those funds go?
I believe they would go back into the, I believe the motor vehicle fund. I believe, but I'm not certain of that.
I would,
Can we direct it?
I would like to direct that if at all possible, just to push back, help replenish. Little the amount may be, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Rather go there than general funds.
If it doesn't go directly, we can certainly bring that up as a budget amendment after 6 months to account for that.
If there's no other questions, motion would be in order to direct the city manager to facilitate the disposal of the previous ladder 350 truck. Which had an anticipated value greater than $5,000. And to direct those proceeds to the motor vehicle. Or it's been moved and supported. Questions on that motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We are up to resolution 31 of 2025, resolution to introduce the golf cart ordinance. This came before this body previously. Directed the planning commission to, review it. Planning commission, took action based on what was really the previous, concept that had come to this body, last year that didn't move for lack of interest at that time. I'll let Chad kick this off in terms of highlights. The two issues that I know were remaining from planning commission were the school district and the school areas, as Mr. Thalen had brought up, as well as how to address and require insurance. So with that, I'll turn it to you, Chad.
Thank you, Mayor. I will eventually turn this over to Jacob Van Boxel with McKenna. But as you aptly stated, we did do some work in the planning commission to discuss this with, I'll say, a small scrubbing based on those concerns. They're based on internet search and Q&A. We did see a couple of municipalities that do require liability insurance for street use. I'll say that was an exception as opposed to the rule, generally speaking, if that is the rule of the commission. Those are the city of Manistee and the city of Manchester. But I wasn't able to reach school staff to discuss idiosyncrasies associated with concerns about golf carts in and around the high school, as well as other elementary schools around the city. If that is a concern, certainly we can do that prior to second reading, but I wasn't able to do that. And then I'll tee it over to Jacob to discuss in further detail some amendments and the overall ordinance itself.
Right, thank you. Yeah, just piggybacking off of what Chad said, so I believe at the last planning commission meeting, the things that were talked about, well, sorry, did you hit it?
Yeah, he's got it. Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry. The items that were discussed at the planning commission meeting, mostly pertain to insurance and what liability, the city would face, whether or not to allow these to be operated near Sickle Street, near the school, operational times, throughout the year, and then registration. We provided the background and discussion on that, reference to the master plan and transportation goals, produce a short summary of fiscal impact, and then the recommendation is to have you, the commission, review this ordinance, discuss any clarifications that may be needed to insurance or anything else, and then determine whether or not to continue on with this ordinance or go back to the drawing board and make additional revisions, or however, really, whatever your pleasure is on how we move forward with this, so.
Any questions? Any questions just to kick off how we arrived at this point in the content of the draft resolution or ordinance?
You wanna go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
I do have a few. I'm probably a little. A situation that potentially you're gonna say, I'm just curious at how the planning commission provided some of the limitations that they put on it. It's hard for me to rationalize, so I'm just hoping you can provide some background more related to the hours of operation, the time of year, the requirements for the unit itself.
Yeah, let me begin very broadly, Commissioner Hersky, to say that there was lengthy discussion on each of these pieces of what we would reference as safety, even as this came forward, did not come out unanimously. I think there were 2 no votes that came forward. I know for those, including myself, we want to make sure that there there were some level of safety measures in here. I believe the hours of operation piece was just certainly, you know, are they that visible at night, knowing that they don't necessarily have all of the necessary lightings that, that an auto, would, to be visible. There were some times I know, one of our members was looking as well at the, ordinance from, Owasso in terms of some of the parallels. And so, you know, chatting with current owners as well, they were also, different than this meeting, certainly engaged in that conversation of what seemed palatable. There were some things that we did remove. Namely, we're not gonna require helmets. That was one of the considerations originally. We did wanna make sure that they did have some form of a roof on there. But, you know, I would say there's just certainly robust conversation all around to arrive at what seemed to be something we could move forward.
And I mean, my point of view is, I really have no problem with golf carts running at any point in time. As far as I'm concerned, as far as the safety concerns go, I don't recognize those the same way as other people do. I think riding your bike in the dark in the morning is more dangerous than somebody driving a golf cart down the road. I think maybe other things come different than that. It's maybe just, looking at it in a different, fashion. I can see where this would be a benefit to the community. You know, especially building access to rural areas that we're surrounded by, which are clearly legal to operate these on. I would be for less limitations than what we currently have drafted here. That's my opinion. But I'm 100% supportive of it. I would love to see it move forward. I'd like to see less limitations. I think it's gonna make it. And also the sunset date. I would prefer us to get rid of that because I think there's a potential significant investment if people choose to do this. And to have a sunset date that's arbitrary to our process. That should be not in there. Yeah, if we have a problem with it, we should repeal it just like any other ordinance.
I think that was part of the thinking there is not necessarily, I know what some people would call this pilot, but at least making sure that there's something that triggers, a significant evaluation of where we are, how it's working. There are changes, that sunset is one of the ways to do that. So, good. Commissioner Heiser?
Sure, it's gonna go along the vice mayor's comments, you know, on some of these, because if we're gonna limit the hours, basically during the daylight, why are we making them have the investment of headlights in it? You know, you don't have, your car doesn't have to have running lights during the day. Yeah, you have to have them there, but it's for the night. But if we're not gonna make the cars run at night, why are we making them put the investment of headlights into the car itself? It just comes down to like the horn too. I mean, the purpose of the horn, I mean, the horn doesn't have to work in your car. Per se. I mean, maybe it does, but you know, at times it can be out, nobody's ever gonna know what's the horn gonna do on some of these, and same way with the windshield. You know, you have motorcycles that fly up and down the road, have no windshield, and I'm pretty sure they're not getting stopped for not having a visor or goggles on according to the law, how it's supposed to be read on that. And just, you know, just moving through some of these, you know, you are taking some of the population of the city, not allowing them to have a part of how this is written. Because if you have to cross a road, you'll have to be at an intersection to get across it. Is that what the planning commission entailed? Because
Correct.
any road over 30 miles an hour, and I'm just gonna use Townsend Road, for example. You have two subdivisions. Well, I live in one, I won't ever have a golf cart, so don't worry. You know, but anybody coming out of my subdivision cannot cross the road because they'll have to drive it down the road to get to another street to turn. Well, technically, you're driving down that road that is illegal. You have another subdivision that's just to the east of me, coming out of there. you cannot get out of there, you'd have to drive down Townsend. Or illegally drive on the sidewalk. To get to the road, at that point. So I don't know if there's any other individuals that we are. Eliminating from doing this. And also, you know, that's just part of it. And then the other aspect is, you know, we took out Sickles Street by the school. But the school has a golf cart that will drive across Sickles Street to go to the football field. You know, and then the other aspect is, we're gonna make this, but we don't have to follow it as the city. So either we follow the same rules that we institute for everybody else, or, you know, we just don't have it. I'm not saying that I'm not supportive or against it, but if we're not gonna follow the same rules that we're gonna set up, maybe we shouldn't be enacting that ordinance.
That's no different, we have a UTV for the park and then
Right.
travels around, does stuff, but I know you guys wanna use it out and about, and the fire department, I've seen them race, not that they shouldn't, but race their UTV down 21 to respond to a brush fire, you know, I mean. I think there's just, there could be some common sense put into this and work just fine.
So if I can jump in, this is all conversation, we certainly have planning commission too. Also realize many of these restrictions are not from the city side. State statute makes the prohibitions against any street over 30 miles an hour. I'm looking at staff, make sure I'm correct on that. So there are already prohibitions in state statute of what we can and cannot do. We also went down that same path, Commissioner Heiser, of some of the difficulty in areas where the option would then be allowing golf carts on sidewalks, which I don't think one of you we necessarily were comfortable with allowing either. So there are some restrictions, but know full well, you know, we took this from an approach of safety of how can we get this started, how can we start to allow it? But we also have some restrictions in state statute that withhold us from some of these pieces. Chad, did I capture that?
Yes, I know, I was wanted to mention, I think what Commissioner Heiser was saying, understanding, you know, some of the requirements. Of I'll say outfitting the golf cart, all those were basically taking word for word from the state statute.
Then I will also say, not only the feedback from folks, what we're hearing from folks is most people that are using these already have these in place. I've also had a chance to chat with some folks that are in the business of selling these and ran that list by them, and they said typically when you look at other states that are allowing for golf carts, these are the pretty standard items. A lot of the golf carts are now coming with a lot of these items already in there. That I think we're trying to say is it's not just a standard golf course golf cart. This is a bit more modified to make sure that we're doing some legal things on the streets here.
Are we looking to suggest changes to this ordinance? For draft form, or what are we looking to do?
If I can,
Sure.
thank you. We presented this tonight with the option, both for the option for first reading, the city attorney drafted the respective resolution. Unsure if there were going to be some changes that would cause us to go redraft and then bring that up for first reading. So the options are there at the pleasure of the commission.
So can you comment, and maybe our attorney might want to comment, because I think that was one of the questions coming out of planning commission was, is this gonna take us multiple, we're gonna need to vote twice, so this does have to come back to commission then next month. Cause I think planning commission was kind of under the assumption that we didn't need necessarily do that.
Well, it has to be introduced and then finally adopted, so it has to come back twice.
Because it's an ordinance, whereas when we were before, right, if it was, is that the difference?
I think it was always an ordinance, I think it was an
I
ordinance.
think it was always that, yeah, I know we always had it was a 2 meeting issue. I don't know if there was some questions about I believe, trying to. We weren't sure if we were able to make this meeting work. And so we would have to go into the August meeting and then pass it in September. So we were able to get those changes done and bring it to this meeting shortly thereafter.
But but it has to be an ordinance, therefore it
Yeah,
does,
this is
it's gonna take
be
two.
published in the public hearing.
It doesn't. have
No public hearing, but it has to be noticed.
Okay,
Yeah, well, it just has to be introduced and then, because it's not zoning, it's a regulatory ordinance, so it has to be introduced and then finally adopted.
Is there a world in which we can, if we just eliminate things, don't change the language, but if it's just eliminated, this gets counted as first read? Because it doesn't ultimately, you know, you're not looking to go change language, you're just strictly eliminating that language.
Yeah, the question is, what I'm a little bit uncomfortable with is that I want to make sure the stuff you're eliminating is not something that's required by the law, so. You know, whether, I don't believe it has to go back to planning commission. But I would feel more comfortable, I know that we're trying to get this done, so there's still some daylight, I guess, so to speak, with getting, you know, if you're gonna allow it. However, because a lot of this is tied to state law, I guess my preference would be if you eliminate something tonight, I would like to make sure. Courtney, of our office was working on it, I just want to make sure that that's something that we're not taking out that's required by law.
Those would be tied to the FCLs, right?
They could, I think the MCLs were referenced, but the other ones that, I don't know, but maybe whoever drafted it can speak. I don't know, necessarily know whether, if there's a lack of an MCL necessarily means that's not a requirement of state law.
It's like the 30 miles an hour, doesn't
Yeah.
have an MCL next to it. That's,
Yeah, I
your-
just,
that's your concern.
yeah, that's my, just sitting here
Right.
today, I would not know whether that,
Right, yes, I get what you're saying.
is there a time limit, knowing we're also looking at doing a special meeting here in the next couple of weeks? Would that be sufficient enough for us to do this evening and then bring it back?
It is for me, I guess it's more of an and. Yeah.
you mean like make the suggestions, have us go back and look and then introduce it at that special meeting?
No, if that would count as our second reading.
Or the latter, I guess.
Yeah.
The changes are too significant.
We could get it done, that's us thinking that.
So if we introduce it tonight, first reading.
Yep.
And then in 10 days, we have a special meeting. And we don't substantially change or reduce anything or add anything. Can that just be approved then you have to wait the 20 days of publication after that before it takes full effect?
Yeah.
That's
That's what I'm looking at too.
so if everything worked out, you could have it done by Labor Day. Roughly.
Yeah, and that was my concern, which I'm sure are not related to any legalities, would be ultimately the sunset date. I think that should not be in there, and ultimately, the time frame, which I believe was April to November. I don't think that, it's already, you already have it in there, cannot be operated within climate weather. What's the matter if it's 55 December? Somebody wants to go for a ride, I don't care. If there's no issue with that, I can't see why the month is relevant to that. So those are the two things that I would like to see removed.
So remove the time frame, the month time frame,
Yep.
and then remove this.
Put in there that we can review this, but I think we handle like any other ordinance. If there's an issue, we bring it back.
Mr. Heiser, do you have any other suggested changes?
I was gonna say if the 30 mile an hour needs to stay in, and that's gonna eliminate people just because of where they live. That's what says, MCL says, that's just what it is. If we want to change that, we have to speed up.
Essentially, everybody's traffic.
We'll have to do a speed study, maybe put a traffic circle in there.
I don't think you're traversing, because you can go across the
And then
road.
you can cross.
Yeah,
So
you
if
can
you-
cross.
if
But
that's
like
the
for your
quickest way
scenario,
to
you can't
get
drive
across, I would think that you could still do it.
Yeah, but that one on the,
Your scenario is.
the one on the,
Yeah.
the one to the east of Sweetles, you'll never be able to traverse that one.
That they should be able to, that's what they're trying to do, it should be allowed. But not the.
Right, but I mean,
Process.
I mean, essentially, anybody coming out of mine, we could go through the cornfield and hit, you know, the dirt road and then. we
Well,
can
you go wherever you
shoot-
want.
Then you could shoot across
Well,
and
we
you'd
take
be
a-
fine, and you could cross, but,
you head south on that dirt road, you can do what you want.
right, but.
We also might be resolving that in a future item when we look at the towns and road development too, so, yeah.
So, but yeah, no, but if that's what it is, I just wanna make sure everybody was aware that you're probably. You know, eliminating some and, you know, I don't mind Ed's comment tonight about trying to reduce. People coming through a parking lot, but
I guess.
probably to enforce that is gonna be nightmare. From a law enforcement perspective at times, if they were to try to do it, so.
That was my question, is do we even have that authority?
Because it's like, you know, if they start there, you know, I'm just thinking, if they were. If the ISD has something there and they shoot across right there on, by McDonald's. You know, they started from their home base, and, you know, it could go against. I like what he's thinking, you know, I'll give you that, Ed, I like how that approach was thought of and trying to. You know, keep people in that area to a minimum, because that is a bad area just for vehicles. You know, so, you know, I don't think enforcement wise it'll be. So, I would be supportive of what the vice mayor says about the dates and then the sunset, so.
Chat with some other folks about this as well, and the thought is, as Ed mentioned. Is there any kind of definition of what I would call an active school zone? Meaning when the blinking lights are on, is there a way to prohibit? At least then, just knowing, I know in my neck of the woods, that's a pretty congested time of day, and should we have golf carts commingling in there at that time, is there a way to define an active school
Is
zone?
it any different than driving down Sweegle Street during mid-fest, the 32 garage sales that are going on in that street? People park on both sides. No. That's just as dangerous as the school zone, so I get what you're saying, sir, you know, and I fully agree with what you're saying too on that, but then you're looking at, you know, then do we unregulate those during non-school days and during
Well,
summer
Active
months?
school zone, I mean, if the blinkers are on during those times, trying to think. if There's a way to do that.
Who turns on the blinkers here?
Yeah.
So if they don't turn them on, then it's St. Joe liable.
That would be how the police would probably designate an active school zone.
I'm just throwing it out
Yeah.
on the legit, the legal side of people wanting to take up that, saying the lights weren't on, who's gonna prove that they were? Yeah, I don't disagree with you.
Did you discuss the resolution of insurance this week?
Well, I think that was probably one of my next questions, thank you. Chad, go ahead.
Just to make sure, I just wanna be able to capture exactly what the changes are, being proposed by the commission. So if it is a desire to bring it back at perhaps a special meeting in the near future, we can have the exact version of that, there, and then later, unless there are any patients that we would run into as far as any publication requirements, it's not zoning. There wouldn't be anything required, it would just
No
need to
public
be,
hearing.
it just need to be a first reading and then
First
adoption.
week adoption, and then it has to be published once within 1 week after their passage.
So I have the change with regards to, would be paragraph N as in Nancy, under 75.02. Golf carts shall not be operated in the city streets during the time period from 1/2 hour before sunset to 1/2 hour after sunrise. Commissioner Hersky indicated that just be deleted. Is that the preference?
I thought we were talking, I heard him talk more of the timeline, the month piece, the April to November piece.
I'm 100% supportive of eliminating that as well.
That part is a part of the Michigan statute.
It is.
Yes.
The statute for the outlet.
I don't see anything pertaining to the months. It does say half hour before sunset and half hour after. Nice.
Yeah, it was 75.02A was the April to November 15th.
I don't.
So we're amazed that.
I think that, if I can, Mayor, just speaks to
Yeah.
the relative safety, of those vehicles without appropriate tires.
Yeah, it's also stated here as far as you can't be driving on inclement weather, so if we have 50-degree December, what's the issue?
Yeah.
You can drive around.
Yeah.
I personally would like to see that.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
Take the dates out. Sunset day, April 1st.
And the sunset is the very last
The
paragraph.
sunset is part of state statute. Just wanted to mention that.
No, the actual sunset. From
The sunset, the ordinance.
Section, that's it.
Different sunset.
Yeah.
Sunset of the ordinance, section 6.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. And I would just say, if I can, Mayor, that was, I placed in there because of the safety concerns and
Mhm.
concerns of, initially of, the lack of VIN numbers and ticketing and recouping fees that, that was presented here tonight in part to be able to address that, but certainly if it's the will of the commission, we can just strike that. If that's what you'd like to do.
That was the motion, right? We motion that?
Yeah, motion.
We have a motion, yeah, okay. And in terms of this evening, knowing we have limited numbers, is this a majority of president or a majority of the commission?
Majority of the commission, without the resolution.
Gotcha.
This one, resolution and an ordinance. So this is double reason you have to have. That, yeah, that's, I guess, why, I guess I'd like to just set out, if someone's gonna be voting no, it kind of puts it in a kind of a tough spot.
Yeah,
So,
that's what I thought.
It's just the first reading, so. Really, I mean,
well, then there's the issue of when you can bring it back.
You're bringing it back anyways, right?
Well,
So technically, why is there a vote on this anyways?
you have to
But
adopt.
we gotta change it. We're changing it now, we're proposing to change it, so how would we adopt something we haven't seen it?
If I had my preference.
Yeah.
We would clean up the ordinance, not have you adopt anything tonight,
Correct,
bring it back for the first reading so you guys can all see
Correct.
what's in front of you.
that's what I'm
It's gonna delay things.
It's already past the prime time, right? As far
I was
as-
gonna say, time.
We can get it, we can get back to that meeting and the special meeting.
Yep.
For the first read, and then the August meeting. For the.
We're okay with that, yeah.
Well, I
It
mean,
doesn't
to a point,
change it
even
that
if we
much.
try to do this meeting, a special meeting. Then you got 7 days to publish it, then 20 days after that, after it's published, before it becomes into effect.
Right.
You're still looking at a month after. So you're still looking after Labor Day, you're looking
Okay.
mid-September. To really get it rolled out, because then you have to get it inspected before anybody can technically drive anyway.
Yep.
So, I mean,
That's just following state law according to.
no, and that's fine,
Passage
I
ordinance.
mean, just
Yeah,
process
that
wise,
is-
so
that is, yeah.
people understand, like, even if we pass it August 4th.
Still.
You're looking after Labor Day before things, and then time policy gets in place to how to inspect it.
And
Somebody gets an
implement.
appointment, it's mid-September. I mean, that's just
Yeah.
the. Yeah, but it's, I mean, just so everybody's aware of. There's certain timeframes that are being met that are either statute or charter that needs to be,
Charter.
that will be followed on this,
Right.
so.
Yeah, if the commission's wills to do that, then yeah,
Well, according to Ann, we can't make changes here tonight and then adopt it as well without them reviewing it
to
for.
do the waiver
For
review.
legal, make
It
sure it's not some
just
state law.
doesn't make sense, whether you could or not, like, I don't wanna,
Well, you referenced it might be a state law issue, so.
Well, that's what I'm saying, you could take something out here and adopt it as revised, but I don't feel comfortable without knowing
Sure.
what's a state law and what's not. So I guess, like I said, my preference would be, let's clean it up, let's make sure that the stuff you wanna take out is appropriate for state law. And then we can bring it like a nice package with the final version for you to introduce it versus making all the changes after introduction and then cobbling it together that way.
So, Mr. Mayor, do you want a motion stating that Brad would like? The
Well,
commission would
I'm
like
looking-
these two things removed,
No, I-
and direct staff to bring back a clean copy at our next meeting, for first reading.
Would that be helpful, Chad? Is that, can I, before we make that motion, can I throw one additional conversation out there is, consideration that, right now this says, you need to have a driver's license. Consideration whether we should say you need to be at least 18 and have a driver's license. I just don't know if we want 16 and 17-year-olds driving around town in these. They've got enough to worry about learning how to drive a car, let alone using this as another excuse.
So I think motion to have,
I guess they said state law is you can't restrict that. Over that driver's license.
Okay,
Public comment time's over.
I mean, we will find out, and do that review.
So.
I think the driver's license, it does say driver's license, but I'm not sure if it says 16 or not. I know you do have to have a driver's license, but I'm curious if we can restrict us.
If it- no, because I mean,
That's a
right,
great
you're
point.
right, chief, I mean, the 16-year-olds are still on a restricted license.
Graduated, right?
Or graduate, there you go, thank you. So, I mean, I guess to a point. Look at the license,
Whatever the law says.
Right.
Make sure it's.
right,
So
so,
I'm looking over, it looks like we might have, go ahead.
The law says a person shall not operate a golf cart on any street unless he or she is at least 16 years old and is licensed to operate a motor vehicle.
Well,
At least.
it says at least, so
Right, well, he's looking to move that to at least 18.
can we move that up to 18?
That would,
Yeah, go ahead.
that would be something that we would certainly look at as part of the review of Foster Swift.
Right.
And
I'd like that
and
reviewed.
ensuring
We
that
could do
that's appropriate.
so I'd make a motion that we move this, have staff. Rewrite the ordinance, eliminating the sunset clause, eliminating the months that. The golf carts
Months
can
of
operate
operation.
and review if we can move the
Age.
age requirement to 18 plus the driver's license.
Motion on the table. Support, questions on the motion? So we're just directing staff to rewrite the ordinance with, those months removed, the sunset, and then investigate further on age restrictions.
Was the insurance requirements
It's,
looked over to?
yeah, did we have that? I think you said, we looked at,
That's in here.
yeah, that's in there now, the liability insurance is in there now, yeah.
Not every insurance company allows you to purchase a separate golf cart.
Right.
Ours says, I believe it's, can you just check the language? I know we looked at that, I think it says liability insurance, I don't think it's specific, kind of saying.
So if you have,
Says-
Let us direct us.
Says, in paragraph, 75.02, subparent E. Proof of current insurance rider via homeowner's insurance policy covering the golf cart must be presented. We can clean that up a little bit, it says or other policy as required, not necessarily via homeowner's insurance policy, it could be just a separate policy in of itself. We can tweak that language.
And I
That
believe,
would be a friendly amendment to the motion.
yeah, and I believe you looked at other cities, as you mentioned, that did have similar language already.
Yes.
So take that as a friendly amendment to clarify the insurance.
Yes.
One more, go ahead.
Yeah, just for clarification, City of Manchester's ordinance states, owners must provide proof of insurance, a riders to homeowners insurance / renters policy or standalone covering personal injury and property damage, just for an example.
To clarify, I think that standalone is what we'll be looking for.
Yes, yep.
So we have 4 areas now: the sunset, the month, the insurance, and the age restrictions. The motion on the table. Any other questions on that motion? Mindy's got it, looks like. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Then, yeah, we can continue to bring this up at the special meeting that we're planning. So we can keep this moving. Thank you, Jacob, as well. Moving into new business, this is for discussion only, the Townsend Road Development RFP.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. The city issued a RFP for proposal for development of R1 low density residential for the property that the city currently owns on Townsend. Approximately, a little over 4 acres. Unfortunately, the city did not receive any responses to that RFP. We had, I believe, a couple of inquiries, but no RFPs submitted for that. So just wanted to bring that up and to see if there was any interest on modifying that or perhaps, listing that more officially with a residential property company that would be able to keep that advertised more prevalently across the state to other developers.
I was gonna say, how was it advertised?
It was advertised on our website. It was McKenna also reached out to a lot of their developers that were working with that. I also reached out to several developers to inform them of that. We did want to spend, there are developer magazines across the state that are very costly to get into in regards to property, so we didn't necessarily want to make that step at this point in time. Wanted to come back, seek clarification on how widely we wanted to advertise that and maybe any expenses that the commission wanted us to expend to maybe elevate, that advertisement in that manner.
Is there any value in simply just putting a sign out there, let people know it's even for sale? I don't think a lot of people even knew.
I mean, that's simple that I go, I just put for sale.
Yeah.
There you go.
If just one person wants to buy it, I can build a single family home. Have it.
Is there any value, I'm looking at Jacob too, to see from a McKenna side, is there any value in extending the RFP timeline a little bit longer? Just to see if we get any further interest.
I guess at this point, we can look at some inexpensive websites to post it to, perhaps look at other representatives that might be able to put this in their portfolio. But that again would take, a percentage of the purchase price, and then we have to come back.
Yeah.
Certainly, we can look at those types of options. I think it's a great idea to put a sign out there for sale. With a phone number, and if anyone's interested, we can certainly bring that back to the commission to discuss options if and when that comes up.
I would traffic up and down that road from all over the
Absolutely.
state all the time, so that's one big, big for sale sign and let her go. Whatever happens back.
Sounds
Did
good.
I give you enough direction?
Thank you.
Good, thank you. Continuing on, we're up to resolution 32 of 2025, resolution to introduce the fire code ordinance. Chief Douglas is back. We had talked at the previous meeting of the need to
Yes.
update this last presentation, so great.
Yes, so I believe was it the June meeting? So in the June meeting, presented that we currently are in the 1990 building and code officials, National Fire Prevention Code. So tonight we're here, with updated ordinance to move us into the 2021 International Fire Code. So with that, it would allow us to, from here on out, any new commercial structures or anything like that would have the most up-to-date fire suppression systems and anything related to fire safety, with them. I believe earlier this month at the planning commission meeting, there was also discussion, with a rental program about carbon monoxide detectors in multi-family dwellings. That is also addressed in there, and it makes it mandatory that they're put in. Right, add any questions?
A great idea, obviously, we gotta move forward, it's. Appreciate you bringing it to us.
Yeah. If not, motion would be in order to adopt resolution 32 of 2025. To introduce the proposed ordinance to amend to update the fire code from the Boca National Fire Code Prevention of 1990 version to the 2021 International Fire Code with proposed changes. Moved and supported. Questions on that motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. And one chief to another, Chief Kirk, we're up to resolution 33 of 2025, introduced ordinance for the readoption of the Michigan Motor Vehicle Code.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Briefly, in the process of transitioning to a different city prosecutor, case review was done, and it was discovered that although at one time the Michigan Motor Vehicle Code was adopted by city ordinance, it no longer was. The adoption of the motor vehicle code gives us the full utility of the code, and as that evolves, motor vehicle code changes every so often, so that would keep us contemporary with that. Additionally, certain portions can be incorporated by reference to the motor vehicle code. One in particular would be the high BAC or blood alcohol content for OWI incidents. The prosecution would then be a city prosecution, and it makes it a lot more timely for us, as well as those associated costs stay with the city as opposed to going to the county prosecuting attorney's office. Once that is adopted, again, that would keep us contemporary with the motor vehicle code and be able to maintain that. So the recommendation would be, fiscal impact, part of the review, so essentially just adopting the ordinance with no additional cost. That review was already budgeted as part of the legal expense, a review of those cases. So the recommendation, if there's no questions, would be that the city commission approve and introduce the proposed ordinance to readopt the Michigan Motor Vehicle Code in the inclusion of the ordinance of the city of St. John's. And I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Chief said motion be in order to approve resolution 33 of 2025, which is to introduce proposed ordinance to adopt the Michigan Motor Vehicle Code for inclusion of the ordinances in the city of St. John's. So it's been moved by Heiser, supported by Gursky. That's right. Questions on that motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Would it be appropriate for one tangent,
Absolutely.
traffic related? So back to the discussion with the county, Mr. DeLong.
Yeah.
So traffic study for frequency excluding speed has avoided that 85th percentile rule where in that area, and it has been discussed that if they come in and do a speed study, it then falls back to 85% of the vehicular travel, which in that area is gonna probably be above the speed, which should be counter mission for us. So as that discussion continues forward, if we exclude that, is have the frequency, the orange ropes, so you look at the frequency of cross traffic is where the study is focused as opposed to speed, just as a consideration as that moves forward.
That's
Quick question for you, Chief.
Yes, sir.
If we did the speed study, can you guys still enforce it as well as you? I mean, say if we set a police car out there, cause you're gonna drive, that will drive down speed by you guys being there. Is that against the? Is that against the rules of the speed study? It's not, or do you guys, I mean, would that be looked upon poorly by FFP for you guys to sit on that zone to try to drive down speed
Right.
for the 85th percentile.
Yeah, it's independently, the studies are independent to the state, they come in and conduct those speed studies, we've offered assistance with our speed sign as well as sitting there, obviously a patrol presence. It was part of the discussion as you talk about being a township, that was one of the targeted joint enforcement zones, because you want to calm speed coming into the city, so that sign out there is part of that discussion as well. We don't, in the end, unless specifically requested, we don't generate the numbers for the speed study, but certainly could. The conversation has come in several different areas, Lansing Street, south of Townsend, that's in that area too. They wanted a speed study, but the cautionary note was if it comes back at that 85th percentile speed, that it's likely gonna be increased. So it's that kind of a double-edged sword, and just be caution moving into that discussion to try to target it towards frequency as opposed to speed.
Okay,
Thank you.
that's all for the last thing. Continuing on, next up is just a, quick update of the, Bingham Water Sewer discussions. Commissioner Hersey and I had a chance to, meet with John Weber as well as, Eric Harger, just to get kind of a sense of where they are. Just want to share, they are certainly still interested in moving forward, as, I guess this is public information, there has been some changes in interest along M21 in terms of developments. But that certainly is not precluding the township from, wanting to continue the conversation moving forward. Commissioner's got turn over to you in terms of, quick summary.
Yeah, quick summary, I know we shared the original agreement, that was sent over to them. Obviously, they, were a little bit shocked at first. In relation to the agreement, looking at its overarching encompass, which Chad, I know you and I talked about that. So then they expressed interest that they definitely would, be open to the conversation related to all things in that side of that agreement, but it'd be tied to that authority discussion, not so much an agreement. So, I mean, that's the conversation is as a whole. Maybe simplified a little bit, I guess.
I think also, we did mention, had a conversation, regarding buy-in. I think those two are certainly tied in together as well, that, if we're looking at a buy-in, there needs to be some level of commitment if they're gonna invest in terms of that overall authority piece.
Yeah, I think there was some level of confusion related to that agreement and where it was left off, at least, in the conversation to servicing the M21 corridor, is it was believed we were gonna get, some type of water agreement, or they were gonna get some type of simple water agreement and then work towards a larger encompassing agreement that worked towards authority, where this looked like an overarching grab of everything that we would be eventually talking about. So, and they were completely open, at least in the conversation we had with them, related to all things that were put into that agreement, as long as the start of it, that first paragraph, reference authorities, that authority. Yeah.
Right. Or whatever, I mean, before, we were trying to push, I'll say a water franchise agreement to help move that along quicker, for them to use their, spending and work all together to get that done. Are we not that far along? They don't need that as quick right now. I know time is still the essence for their spending what they have, don't get me wrong, but doesn't sound like the development is pushing as hard as what it was previously.
They still have the truck stop that's out there that they're trying to service. Some of the larger other, discussions, have fallen by the wayside, but it also sounds like, some of the interest in residential is looking elsewhere, within the township, would still likely need some level of, water sewer service.
Pressing issue, but not,
Yeah,
not like yesterday.
they want to get from conversation of two folks, they said, yeah, no, they're definitely, there's moving forward, they want to keep it going, so. It's really up to us and them, it's two full bodies decide how quickly we move.
But I think certainly interest sooner rather than later, And I know Chad, you've been gathering input from everyone, up here in terms of what kind of a position looks like that we can adopt here and continue conversations. Chad?
You're just wondering what the suggestions were at the meeting to, what the next steps would be. Did they suggest another meeting of what I would call the joint, sub-task force or two full meetings? What was discussed as far as how to move that forward?
Honestly, I don't think that to that degree, I remember that being discussed, I think at the point it was that they're open to move the whole thing forward. As long as it's tied to that, and if that's the case, take it to the board.
Yeah, I think we gotta finalize kind of, if we are moving down the authority path, I think, I know we've talked about it, but I guess the question is in terms of, agreement one versus a secondary agreement, I think their preference is certainly going authority first, so something certainly we're gonna have to consider.
And I guess that, if I can, Mayor, that would be where there's lots of, concerns, lots of issues that would need to be worked out in regards to employees and contracting and everything else as it pertains to the authority, which is a whole different lift and look that is much more complex than that. And I'm not saying we wouldn't necessarily be able to work those issues out. But I would give me pause if say we're doing the authority no matter what, without understanding that there may be some issues that we might not be able to work out with regards to the concerns of the commission about employees or how they would be handled or contracting or whatever other issues we don't know about. But I think certainly that's what the commission has stated, that, and I think that language is in there about working towards an authority. I guess seeking guidance of what the commission would like to see that would meet the requirements of seemingly Bingham on what exactly that language is. Did they provide guidance on
I
that?
think it'd probably be more helpful, we've gotten a sense, I think many of us have shared. Danny's, I know Chad, you've been trying to gather that too. I would say probably what's most helpful if we're ready to move on it is if you've got that summary as to where we feel we are as a body, if we adopt that, I think that then gives you the sort of the marching orders of what parameters we're looking for to negotiate. I know we've talked about the subcommittee, but I don't think we brought it back to this full committee. I know you were doing conversations with folks.
Would that be the pleasure of the commission to bring it back, like say for the August meeting to
I think
develop
so.
what those specific tenants would be? And
Yeah,
how
sure.
that would be included in there?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Certainly bring that back for August.
I think that's where we're at. Yeah, I don't think we're that far off, really.
Our regular meeting.
Correct.
I just want to clarify that for our regular meeting on, not our special meeting.
That's right. Good, yes, I just wanted to fill you on that, because I know it was not on the conversation this evening. So, good. Then, I asked for this North Clinton piece and, of course, one of our, individuals can, make mention to it. And I watched some of the email traffic go back and forth, Chad and probably Justin got some comments on this too. I just wanna make sure that the solution that we're recommending here, we really feel is gonna solve the problem, that we're not gonna end up back here and saying, oh, we wish we would have done this, or we wish we would have done something in the parking lot. I just wanna understand that piece of your perspective. And as well, I'm also curious, in the right of Chad, you mentioned that there were some reserve funds or some carry forward funds that we didn't use. Just curious what we didn't use last year and where those funds came from.
Just before you jump in,
Yeah,
you wanna just talk about what the project is and get us.
yeah,
Please get me up,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
start there, then you can go, then you can jump into the mayor's more formalized things, just so I understand
so
it.
you're familiar where we're at. Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you don't mind.
No, great point, Chris, and that was kind of the road I was gonna go. These are ultimately two separate projects. When we look at the sanitary sewer, the combined and fixing that, ultimately, we have a legal, moral, ethical, obligation to not be directing, essentially sewer and waste into the storm system.
Right.
So that's what we're doing now. Yes, it will eliminate the backup that Mr. Harris and Ms. Swanson are having in their basement of the waste and, the sanitary. It will eliminate that. It's two separate projects. What we need to do to fix what Mr. Harris is speaking of is a completely different project, not associated with this. This is to fix an issue essentially that we're legally bound to fix, knowing that we found a sanitary discharge going into the storm system. To kind of bring this back, we've been noticing this for quite a while. As Jordan noted in the RCA at the, I have to look, I don't know my coffee shops, but Waypoint Coffee, we've been working with them for a number of years, just as a kind of a organic waste kind of smell that we could not figure out where that was coming from. And, once we did, some work in the alley that Mr. Harris referenced, which I'll get to that later. It essentially created a vent for this. And unfortunately, that vent was in the back entrance to Swanee's, which, as you can understand, when you walk into a restaurant, it's not to smell you don't want to smell. So we brought plumbers in to kind of pinpoint where this was coming from, because we had no idea where it was. So, had them televise it, found the issue. And that's what this RC and this project is for, is to provide a sanitary sewer up in that area, connect that, so it's going to the proper avenue. Before I move, I wanna make sure that everybody's good with that portion of the project.
Just a question on
Yeah.
that, and I apologize, I might have overread it, but can you tell me what they're actually trying to redo? I mean, I understand the issue, but what connection point to connection? Like, where's the pipe going that they're gonna be?
Yeah, so if, behind the 200 block, there, so where the inception point is of the sanitary into the storm would essentially be behind, the buildings that would face, Walker Street. So you'd be looking at, I think there's a tattoo place there, some apartments.
Sirens and tattoo.
The heist, all that. So that's the start point. It's old, I mean, it's before all of us combined, originally, I think what they said was there's no sanitary here, solution to pollution is dilution, dump her in there. So essentially what we're gonna do is install a sanitary manhole, reroute all that, install a sanitary line in that alley, and then connect out to High Street.
Got it.
Yes, we're also gonna upgrade, there's a few, like some storm issues that are in there right now that we're gonna address as well in this project. Very minor, but essentially, that's where that sanitary lead is gonna go to.
So really, in relation to this project, we're blocked, we're obviously.
Very much. The only thing that it will eliminate is the possibility of those buildings getting any sort of backup of sanitary.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a huge first step, but it doesn't solve everything.
No, and I'll, if you don't mind, I can address kind of what our plans are moving forward.
Yeah.
Ken and I he's probably sick of hearing from you, we're working on it, so if you don't mind, we could kind of address this project. Move it to you for approval, and then I'd be happy to talk about our plan moving forward with the storm. So I know you did have some question regarding the funding or.
I was just curious, yeah, it made mention
So-
in here, yeah.
We're still trying to figure out exactly how it got missed, and I'm not a ClearGov expert by any means, so. Wastewater Supervisor Whitford did submit this in this year's CIP. I had approved it and sent it on, somewhere along the lines, it got lost. I don't even begin to tell you how it did, it wasn't in the CIP, my mind was blown, because I know he had issued it. How it works with the progression, I had approved it, sent it on to be added to the CIP, somewhere in there, somehow it got lost, so unfortunately. We had some reserves from projects from last year, one of them if you remember the AMR installation that we're now using for the radio reads for the meters. Initial like investigation on that pricing revealed that we were gonna need 4 of those. We actually needed 3. We're getting better coverage than we had anticipated from the 3, so we saved, I think it was $35,000 or $38,000 by not installing the 4th. We had another, some reductions in the, SCADA upgrades, that we did from last year. We had some overages. The Mort Street water main, we were under budget on what we had went there. And then also we had in the 24-25 CIP water main from, I know I'm gonna get my street on, but essentially Searles Estate Drive to the, rail trail. There, and we were grossly underestimated the cost of that, so we held off on that project. So we had funds from multiple of those. Obviously, this was not something we had anticipated. We unfortunately really don't have a choice, you know, and I, like I say, I think it's within our due diligence and ethically and morally, besides legally, to complete this project.
That's all. Questions?
No, I just comment, I guess I agree, it's gotta be done, so they know in advance what's about it.
So we'll give Justin a chance to explain phase 2. Motion be in order to approve the bid from Miller Brothers Excavating the amount of $139,550 to complete the sanitary sewer separation project.
I'll support it, but I'm gonna make an amendment, so.
All right.
The only amendment I'm gonna make is we have to make the corresponding budget adjustments. Everything he said dies at the end of the fiscal year. Yes, there's stuff. Potentially, but whatever overages we had in other areas, you know, surplus and all this, doesn't matter. So the only thing is, I think we should make the corresponding budget adjustment at this point too, when we approve these funds.
I'm good with it. Is that a friendly amendment?
Yes.
Fine with that.
Yep.
So the motion would be approve the bid from Miller Brothers Excavating the amount of $139,550 to complete the sanitary sewer separation project. Do you need the rest of that? I think that does it, and make the necessary budget amendments to reflect the change. Questions on that motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Phase 2.
Yes, so. As Ken alluded to, he's been dealing with this for quite a while. I was just made abreast of kind of the situation when I took over as a public service director. We gave him good clean water and that's what I was worried about at the time. So I'm fairly new on this project and I'm learning, and thank you to Ken, he's been great with us letting us in the building and stuff. So last year, Ken and I met, he actually had 2 storm sewer issues. The first one was the catch basin by the, is it the flats? Is that the flats at Hyam and Spring Street? So the catch basin wasn't working. There's another basin that he had installed to catch, so essentially that water was cresting the curb and going down into his building.
Right.
Did some investigation, found out that during construction of the railroad and Spring corners, and when we did Railroad Street, a former city manager and the contractor had bulkheaded a storm sewer and eliminated a catch basin that actually needed to be connected. That was the outlet for Ken's, essentially that storm sewer in that area. So we got that fixed, and that's working well. Ken also brought to light the issues that they were having in that alley. So the issue that they were having then was that the catch basin, the one and only catch basin that was there, could not take the amount of water that was going to it. So it, essentially what it was doing, it was getting to a point where the water level was so high, it was entering the basements through the steps. I believe in Dana's building and yours, both are set a little bit lower. Obviously not ideal. So. Went in there this was never meant to be a permanent fix. So we went in and we added a catch basin directly on the storm sewer to essentially work as a safety net. So if that water was to ever get up to that point, it would then dump directly into the storm sewer, at that point. There is how we learned of the sanitary with the vent, in the smell. So in the process of that, we found out that the catch basin where it had tied into the actual storm sewer was not a proper connection. It was kind of a jury rigged, half cut. There was about a 4-inch hole that was trying to dump all this water. So we repaired all that. The main issue down there is the amount of water this one catch basin is trying to catch. Ken and I are in full agreement on this. I mean, you're catching water out from Spring Street, you're catching water from Hyde Street, you're catching that entire lot. In that back area, there's, I believe, and I've got some pictures I can share with you, I believe there's 17 or 18 roof drains into eave troughs. They're all coming to one catch basin. So now the issue is, I guess it goes back to no good deed goes unwarranted. So we have the catch basin where it's working at its correct volume. The problem is it's dumping so much water in there that it can in Dana and Swanee's, they have a storm sewer line that goes into a floor drain. So now we actually got the footage and they're tapped excessively low in that storm. So basically we're creating a hydraulic pressure instance or a situation where it can't take all that water enough. So essentially the relief valve is their basement and their floor drains. Not great, even if it was storm water, but now, of course, it's, you know, toilet paper and that stuff right there. So what we're proposing to do, and I do have a call in, gonna meet with Mr. Harris, we're gonna get some engineers in there to just get a gauge of what that water load is in there. One of the solutions that we wanna work on is installing an additional catch basin on top of that storm sewer main, north or downstream from where their connections are and where there's a bulk load of roof drains, and then provide an outlet that, I think, Ken, between you and Dana, correct me, have most of those buildings. You know, and Ken's indicated he's willing to, you know, commit to this project as well by tying in all his roof drains, and Dana as well, in there. We have, I believe, Gilroy's and the dog groomer as well, correct? And those are separate owners. So work with them as well as getting their downspouts directly in there. The hope is that we can divert enough of that water in upstream, or I'm sorry, downstream, north of where those storm sewer taps are, that we can get that water away before we have essentially floor drains using as a hydraulic outlet or a pressure relief. The other major thing we need to look at, and I do have a set of plans, all bid out, is for the reconstruction of the Gilroy's lot. It's currently on hold to see where the total bids are for the Wilson Center. But one thing that we have proposed in there is an additional catch basin within that parking lot that's gonna catch that surface water, and also some reconstruction of the curb on Hyde Street to divert that water into, essentially away from one smaller catch basin. So really hoping that we can complete that project yet, because that will eliminate some of the water. And then really want to work on getting a kind of an engineered model to make sure that connecting all those downspouts in the way that I envision it is gonna work. Because honestly, I mean, Ken's been dealing with it longer than I have. I want to put this thing to bed and do it right, you know? So that's kind of where we're moving forward. So, hopefully we'll be bringing a proposed plan to you real soon to get this.
That's what I was looking for. I want to make sure we heard that there was another piece coming, and that this wasn't the end all be all. This was
definitely
part
not
one, so, okay.
Blowing anyone off. It's a significant issue.
Okay.
And I mean, you don't, have to be trained just to realize that's a lot of water going to one catch basin.
All right. Chad,
Just something briefly to add also is that anytime you're working with a storm sewer system, there will be a storm event that will overwhelm that system. It is a
1500
fait
year, yep.
accompli. And so a lot of the things that we'll also be working with the private property owners is looking at what's called a backflow preventer. Because once we found out that it's actually functioning as a combined sewer, that's a bad situation. But if they have an old floor drain in there, typically with a new building code, that should be connected to sewer. But if there are still existing connections, they can install a backflow preventer that will protect that connection when it's in a surcharge conditions, because it's not a case of if it'll happen, it's when it will happen. Because there are always storms that are gonna overwhelm the system. The system's only designed to handle a certain frequency storm event. So that's some of the things that we'll also be working with, the homeowners, just to work in partnership of doing what we can from the public side and also what they can be doing from the private side.
Yeah.
I'll cut in a floor drain to the sanitary, not a problem, but all that storm water is now going into your guys' sanitary line. So your plant processing is gonna go up during heavy rains.
That
So,
sounds familiar.
yeah.
Got it. All right, thank you. Good. That's taken care of. We are on to, city manager comments.
But thank you, Mayor. I'll try to rifle through these quickly. I did meet with Leaf about a week and a half ago. They did inform me that all of the investors associated with the Prevail Solar project have pulled out, and the property is now and or will imminently be back up for sale. I think the implications of this is knowing the fact that we are going through the master planning process is there's the opportunity to look at that property as certainly an industrial property. We still indicate that there is a fair amount of interest in a facility like that. We get, of the calls that we do get, those are calls that are popular about high floor to ceiling heights, large manufacturing area, et cetera, et cetera. There's also the opportunity to raise that site and put in a larger density residential development that could be assembled with the other surrounding property. So we'll be adding an option for that within the master plan, just to show a visioning of what that could be if that property sits vacant. Certainly, that property sitting vacant for another, 10, 15 years is probably not something that bodes well for that area. So we wanted to try and, through this master planning process, show, what that property could look like. And, Director Smith and Supervisor Whitford on a successful negotiation with Eagle, and our NPDS permit. I won't go into a lot of details, but we held hard and firm on our CBOD limits with regards to our 6 milligrams per liter through October 1 of 2028. There will be other projects that will be required as part of that, and we're scheduling a presentation as far as the August meeting to go into a little bit deeper dive of what that permit looks like. It's currently up for review right now. It's being published, and all things go according to Hoyle. It should be in force by October 1. Wanted to update you on the Viger lawsuit against the city of St. John's. There are depositions that are being scheduled. There is a strong belief that this will not make it to trial. But I just wanted to indicate to the commission that their discovery is complete and now depositions are being scheduled. Also, there was a recent communications regarding our marketing and communications arena that was sent earlier. Just direct your attention to that. If there's any questions, please let me know. Fantasy Forest, if you haven't driven by there, or anyone in the audience, I would encourage you to do so. Looking very exciting. Lots of activity out there this week. There is flat work, concrete being installed. All of the equipment has been delivered. The flat work is about 60% complete. And just as a feel-good note, we did receive a call from a family member that's related to the Lizzie's glider efforts of kind of keeping that as part of the Fantasy Forest, and they were very pleased with how it looks. And just a testament, I think, to the overall process and the approach that we had towards that. So it's just kind of a feel-good story that I wanted to make sure to pass along to the other commissioners. Depot is also nearly complete. The painting is complete and almost all the new fixtures are installed. Looks spectacular. The last remaining items are working to get a curio cabinet to display some of the historical items down there, as well as refinishing and reinstalling the wood floors in the east room and in that center area. But I really encourage you to go take a look at that if you're getting some exercise on the CIS trail. Looks fabulous. Also wanted to report that we did draw names for the people who chose to sign up for auto pay. There were 3 winners on that, and they all chose to accept a $150 credit to their utility account. So we were happy that 1,138 people signed up, or I should say accounts, signed up for auto pay. Wilson Center and office reorganization update. Just wanted to remind the commission that there is a roof bid out right now. There is a due date of July 31st at 2 p.m. There are over 10 vendors looking at this. So the good news is we have a lot of activity associated with replacement of that roof. We are also working to begin formal advertisement of the naming of the certain areas in Wilson Center. So you'll be seeing that coming out here in August. And to remind you, that was at the community center. Overall was 150,000. The auditorium was 100, gymnasium at 75, and the community room at 25,000. So that's where we're gonna start, and we'll see how much interest we get. As noted in some email traffic, we did get bids in for all the improvements at the Wilson Center, as well as the improvements to the offices. Thus, in my mind, in talking with the mayor, the need to really have a special meeting to discuss, I think, this very important decisions. They did come in higher than the budget that we had. We thought that it may come in a little bit higher just because of the pricing. It came in a little bit higher than that. And there are several reasons for that, not the least of which is the roof that we did not anticipate replacing at this point in time at the tune of approximately 300,000, but we'll know that. So we'll have all of this information. And yes, Commissioner Heiser, a PowerPoint presentation ready for a hopeful meeting at August 6th at 8 a.m. We were able to get 4 of the 5 commissioners at that meeting. Commissioner Huffnagel will be in transit in the air, so unfortunately he will not be able to make it. Just making sure that that meeting is a go. We are still confirming if this chamber is available. If not, it is. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Clerk Seavey. And we'll have that here at 8 o'clock.
We can always go 7. Good morning. Yeah.
So appreciate the commission's availability and willingness to meet. I think that will be a very appropriate discussion for that new facility. Speaking of studies, we did receive 7 proposals for the wage study, ranging in cost from approximately $16,000 to $45,000. I know at the last meeting, commission expressed an interest of being more engaged in this RFP than what would normally be. I wanted to propose commission, perhaps a meeting of the personnel committee to discuss what exactly that looks like, as far as engagement, as far as, our overall approach to that, just making sure that that would be an appropriate start of getting the details of what that process would look like. Not necessarily that will reside, but just.
Ultimately, I mean, the decision of which RFP is coming back to this full. body.
Yes,
Of course,
but
you're
as far as,
thinking The advanced piece.
absolutely, just there was an expressed interest of being a little bit more involved in that, and just wanted to make sure exactly what that looked like.
Are you looking for an answer for?
I. Go ahead, Brett.
I would like to see it, at least if we could, like, see what we're thinking, we would wanna know what that's inside that RFP, if you could send it to all of us, you know, if the personnel committee meets after that, you know, I guess I wouldn't have as much conversation long as we see it, everybody sees it before, but.
Yeah, I think everyone should see all of this for sure, yeah.
Well, I mean, I think even be involved in some level of comment.
I just think it should come back to the full commission. You know, because I mean, each of us see it differently at that
Sure.
point.
Yeah.
You know, if it's. At that point, and then if we decide, after we select somebody, hey, now we're gonna pass it along to the personnel to, you know, do the heavy lift of. That, then that's what we decide, but up to that point,
I agree.
you know.
So am I hearing that we just, place all, proposals on the agenda without any staff recommendation and just let the commission go through them and provide recommendations and select the appropriate vendor?
I'll talk with that.
Plan on 11 o'clock meeting that night.
It should make that-
No, I-
We all do our due
I think
diligence.
we all, I
before
think
we're
do our
gonna-
due diligence in advance, yeah, let's
We're
make
gonna
sure.
have Our top two probably won't be watching that night.
I would certainly suggest that is if you have all the responses back, get them out so that we.
I mean, if we
there's
have
questions,
now, right? I mean,
can we share them now so that, and set a timeline so everyone has a chance to do questions, anything they need vetted. I don't think we're anticipating all the vendors will be here that night.
No.
But I think that would be helpful in advance, so that we're not doing that all that night. Set a deadline for that and give the vendors a chance to respond.
Respond.
If we have questions about their methodology or what this covers, we're gonna need some clarity.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, that's the process. I mean, if there's a whole lot of questions, just the collection of that data, not knowing what it is right now, who's gonna send it out, what the information is, you know, I'm happy to do that, but that may be a fairly laborious process, not knowing what questions may come in after the review. So perhaps we send them out, see how many questions there are from the overall commission, then the personnel committee meets if need be to sift through that.
I guess if need be, I mean, if you're talking.
Yeah.
Sit through the question,
Yeah,
if there's no questions, then,
Right,
you know,
exactly.
okay, yeah, then we just bring them all right here.
Okay,
But I think
I don't see there'll be a lot of questions
not at this process.
Okay,
on that part of it.
the bigger questions when the vendors before us that we selected, and that's probably a more lengthy conversation.
Well, and what data they're looking at, you know, what, it's further down the road that I think it's gonna be.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree with that.
very good. Thank you for that. Just wanted to let you know, Chief Douglas has a couple of tours set up. I've sent those to you, Mayor and Vice Mayor, in the event that you know, you both wanted to come, but also want to let everyone else know. Senator Singh will be meeting us on the 30th at 2:30, and then Congressman Barrett on the 14th at 10:30 a.m. in case you want to join. For time's sake, I won't go through June Parks and Recreation Program, but lots of activity and lots of support of our programs by our great staff. Also want to report that if everything goes according to Hoyle, the labyrinth will be installed, starting perhaps late August through, September. So that will kind of, parallel the final completion of the Fantasy Forest, another exciting addition to the city park. Also, just wanted to thank you for the funding of attending conferences. I did attend the Michigan Municipal Executive Conference in Mount Pleasant. Topics included parks funding, which was a very interesting discussion. They had Parks and Rec directors from all over the state that had some really good suggestions on how to approach that. I enjoyed talking with the commission on in future meetings. Timely topic about mitigating market price and volatility in contracts and bidding. Understanding the differences in county and city governments, which was a really interesting conversation and presentation. And how to work better and stronger together. Also, I'll call it legislative updates from the state. They did indicate that 8 public acts were passed to date, which is the lowest number of public acts since 1940. The average number of public acts is 128 that were passed, so almost near stagnation at the state level that. In a very challenging time.
Mr. Gursky.
No exciting comments. I was informed by a colleague up there, Mr. Phelan, that attended the last ambulance meeting that we are looking to move forward with potentially bringing billing in-house, having continued issues as far as recouping funds in an adequate amount of time. Causing some strain there. So we're looking to make some changes at that point. Other than that, overall runs at the ambulance are down. That's consistent. It's a good thing as society goes, not a great thing as far as the budget goes. But that is consistent across the region, even in hospital admissions, so. Everybody's healthier and safer, so that's good, but other than that, no comments.
Thank you. You did Midfest already and the fair certainly wish everyone safe time and to our public safety officials, knowing that's a very busy time for them. Want to just say one thank you. I received, I think it was today, the minutes from the Parks and Rec via email. So advise anyone that's out there, if you have not signed up to get all of the updates from the city, either via text or via email, certainly do so. Great way to stay updated. On the golf carts, I just want to continue to thank people for coming out. A couple sides on this. Government takes a while. Probably heard that this evening. Be patient with us. We're working through to make sure we're doing this right. And I know for our police department, I know there's a lot of interest in doing this, having golf carts ready by Midfest. It's apparent that's probably not going to be the case, but I know Chief, you and your team are probably talking about how you're going to handle address golf carts, knowing full well some momentum certainly happening here with golf cart diligence in terms of fighting to monitor that through some of those busy times. So with that, I'll let you go. Been moved by Heiser, supported by Gursky. Questions on that motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, everyone.